You have tried every approach, yet the universe seems indifferent. What if it is trying to reveal a deeper truth to you, a teaching that no one has ever revealed to you? The common conception equates manifestation with the obsessive pursuit of goals, the mechanical repetition of affirmations, the effort to shape reality. But what if the true principle lies not in attracting what you desire, but in awakening what you already possess? Yes, you understood correctly. Perhaps the universe does not intend to give you a desire. It is trying to show you yourself, not the version limited by fears, monotony, and automatisms, but a higher essence, conscious and powerful, that already resides within you and awaits the right moment to reveal itself. This is not a simple method of manifestation. It is a code, an alchemical principle guarded for centuries, accessible only when you are ready to receive it. And the fact that you have come this far indicates that that moment has arrived. Now, breathe deeply. For once you understand why certain events take a long time to materialize, everything will make unmistakable sense. You are not here to learn how to desire. You are here to rediscover your true nature. And when that happens, life responds immediately, moving toward you without hesitation. What is below reflects what is above, and what is above reflects what is below, to bring about the wonders of unity. If you feel an inner echo in these words, if you sense that this is not just a video but an invitation, leave a like right away, because I will perceive it. I will understand that you are among those who know how to grasp the ineffable, that you are in tune with what is about to unfold. And so, even without knowing each other, I will know that we share the same path. Have you ever wondered why so many modern manifestation methods seem empty, superficial, almost disposable? Why even after repeating affirmations 1,000 times or creating vision boards, it still seems like something essential is missing? Maybe it's because what you're looking for isn't on the shelves of social media or in self-help books full of instant promises. The real key to manifestation wasn't invented recently. It's been preserved, protected, hidden for centuries in esoteric traditions that understood the secrets of the human soul long before science attempted to explain them. This technique that transforms your reality in a profound and real way was not born in the modern West. It has crossed deserts, been whispered intensely in the silence of the night, written in hidden manuscripts, passed down from master to disciple, from heart to heart. And the two lineages that have kept it alive despite persecution, fear, and oblivion are Sufism and Kabbalah. Sufism is not just a branch of Islam, it is a silent spiritual journey, which does not aim to dominate the external world, but to penetrate the veils of the soul. Sufis turn in circles because they know that truth is not in a straight line. The turning wheel represents the cosmos, the ego dissolving, the center, which is God. And by turning, it aligns itself with that center. For Sufis, the heart is the temple, love is the path, and presence is the portal. They have understood that manifesting is not asking with the mind, but opening the heart until it vibrates at the same frequency as the divine. Kabbalah, on the other hand, is the hidden map of human consciousness. Born from the roots of Jewish mysticism, it goes beyond words and rituals. It studies the subtle laws of the universe as if deciphering the very source code of reality. What Kabbalists have discovered, and what only the most attentive can perceive, is that reality is not something fixed. It is shaped by the interaction between human intention and the vibrational structure of the universe. The word Kabbalah means to receive, but it is not a passive receiving. It is a conscious receiving, which only occurs when the soul aligns with the wisdom of creation. Now, what connects these two seemingly different lineages? Something absolutely powerful. Both have discovered that the secret of true manifestation is not to want something desperately, but to become the channel through which the divine can act. They don't teach you to manipulate the universe, they teach you to become compatible with it, and that is the point that most popular manifestation techniques miss. They teach you to force reality, to control events, people, situations. But the Sufi and the Kabbalist know that the secret is not to control, but to allow. It is not to conquer, but to become. Because true manifestation is not about ego, it is about resonance. Both traditions speak of a spiritual code that operates silently but with immense power. And this code has one purpose: to remind you who you are before your fears, before your stories, before your limitations. Sufis access it through unconditional love, radical surrender to the present, the dissolution of the separate self. Kabbalists access it through contemplation of the sacred names, study of the Sephirot, and elevation of consciousness through pure intention. And what both paths reveal in different words is the same truth. It is not you who manifests the universe. It is the universe that manifests through you when you step out of the way. And that is where the first key comes in, a key as old as the mysteries of the universe itself, a principle hidden behind complex words, but actually much closer than you think. Kabbalists call it equivalence of form, and if it seems distant or abstract, it is because no one has ever taught you what it truly means. The first key, the law of equivalence of form, you remember that the universe moves according to the law of vibration, right? But what no one has ever explained to you is that what really activates manifestation is not what you want, it is what you are. And this is where the first hidden key comes in. Hidden for centuries in mystical traditions, the law of equivalence of form. Unlike the popular law of attraction, which says that like attracts like, this law goes deeper. It is not just about what you think or feel, but your internal vibrational form, your energetic structure, your subtle way of being. And what does this mean? It means that reality only shapes itself to you when you become energetically compatible with it, and not compatible in terms of desire, but in intention, posture, and vibrational essence. In Kabbalah, this principle is taken seriously. To unite with the Creator, you must become equivalent in form to Him. But what is the form of the Creator? It is the form of giving, of expanding, of offering. The Creator does not hold back, does not ask, does not expect. It emanates, it flows, and we as humans were created with the opposite nature, to receive. And that is not a sin or a flaw, it is the purpose. But the alchemical transformation happens when we change the intention with which we receive. You still receive experiences, energy, opportunities, knowledge, but you start doing it with the purpose of sharing, of expanding, of giving back to the world. That is when the miracle happens, because the moment you receive to give, you stop being just a container. You become a channel, and when you become a channel, you enter the same vibration as the source. You start vibrating at the same frequency as the Creator. That is the equivalence of form. It is not about changing your appearance or pretending to be grateful or kind. It is about altering your internal structure. It is about reconfiguring your energy field with the real intention of being a bridge between what you receive and what you give to the world. And here it is worth making a comparison with the ancient Hermetic book of the three initiates. There, the first and most fundamental of the 7 Hermetic laws is the law of mentalism. It says, all is mind, the universe is mental. What does that mean? That everything is consciousness, that the entire universe is a vibrational construction that comes from the original thought of the universal mind. In other words, the source. And now comes the key point. If everything is mental, then your internal state determines the external form of your reality. The law of equivalence of form and the law of mentalism are deeply connected, because they both state that your external reality is a direct reflection of your internal structure. But while mentalism explains why everything happens, why everything is consciousness, equivalence of form shows you how to participate in it, making your consciousness similar to that of the source. In other words, it is not enough to think positively. You have to vibrate like source. You have to give like source, act like source. And that does not come from memorizing words, but from aligning the intention behind everything you do. You may want abundance, for example, but if internally you are vibrating scarcity, fear of loss, need for control, there is no compatibility of form. Source is abundance, and abundance flows. If you want to align with it, you have to stop trying to control, to hold back, to resist. You have to let it flow in you too. Just as a river does not flow by itself, abundance flows only in the life of those who become the flow. And here is the great revelation. You can continue to receive, but with the secret intention of giving, and that changes everything. It does not matter whether you are receiving love, knowledge, attention, blessings, or opportunities. If in receiving you choose to overflow, you are already living in the vibration of the Creator. And that is true alchemy. You transmute your inner being, and the world around you has no choice but to reflect it. Receiving is part of our existence. From the moment we are born, everything begins with receiving. The air we breathe, the food that nourishes the body, the affection that shapes the soul. It is natural. It is human. The mistake was never in receiving. The real turning point is in what you do with what you receive. You can receive with attachment, with fear, with greed. Or you can receive lightly, with gratitude, with a heart already willing to share. Because the intention behind receiving completely changes what that energy becomes within you. It is in that invisible instant between what comes to you and what you do with it that alchemy happens. If your intention in receiving is only to accumulate, you close the cycle. Energy stagnates. What could have circulated, flowed, and multiplied rots in your field like stagnant water, like a fruit kept too long. But when you receive with the sincere desire to transform it into life for others, into benefit for the whole, something magical is activated. Energy purifies itself. It gains movement. It returns to the source, and in returning it transforms you. To make this even clearer, I will share with you a short story that illustrates exactly what we are learning. Once upon a time, there was a village hidden in the mountains. There lived two very different sisters, Amara and Leora. Amara was known for her intelligence and skills. Everything she received, knowledge, gifts, help, she kept for herself. She accumulated books, jewelry, recipes, secrets. She said that one day all of this would give her power, respect, security. Leora, the younger sister, also received many things, but she was different. Whenever she learned something new, she taught it to someone. When she got something, she immediately thought of who else could benefit from it. She said, "If I got it, it's because I can multiply it." Years passed. Amara built a castle full of riches and treasures. But she lived alone, suspicious, afraid that someone would take away what was hers. Leora, on the other hand, never had a castle, but she had a lively home, full of people, music, stories, and exchanges. Everything around her flourished. People felt good just being around her. One day, a great drought hit the village. The rivers dried up, the fields died, the supplies began to run low. And then the unexpected happened. Amara's closed castle, filled with accumulated supplies, began to rot from the inside. The grains moldered. The stored water became undrinkable. Everything that had been kept for oneself was lost. But in Leora's house, for some reason, the little they had never ran out, because everyone contributed. Everyone cared, everyone shared, and that energy continued to flow. The village survived because they learned from her to transform the act of receiving into a portal of renewal. When the rain finally returned, Leora looked up at the sky and smiled. She knew that those who receive with a heart ready to give are never empty. This story, as simple as it is, hides one of the deepest secrets of spiritual life. The problem is never how much you have, but what you do with what you are given. When you transform every blessing you receive into a seed, the universe understands that it can trust you, because it knows that whatever passes through your hands will blossom in others. And when you become that kind of channel, open, pure, available, reality begins to flow to you effortlessly. And this is where what many call the alchemical paradox appears, because at first glance it seems illogical. How can you give while you are receiving? How can you offer something in return if everything that is happening is an act of receiving? But here comes the invisible key, the one that few notice. True giving does not happen in the material, it happens in the intention. When you receive with a heart aligned with the act of sharing, when you allow what comes to you to be amplified by your energy and expanded beyond you, then you are not just receiving, you are giving, even if no one sees, even if nothing changes externally. This is not charity, it is not self annihilation, it is not emptying yourself for others. It is simply vibrating as the source vibrates, with abandon, with trust, with generosity. Imagine that you are a glass filled with clear water. Instead of covering that glass for fear of spilling it, you choose to keep it open, and what overflows flows naturally to those around you. The water never stops coming because you are not blocking it. You are flowing. This kind of subtle and silent gesture changes your frequency. And when your frequency changes, you become magnetic. Because now you no longer vibrate with the desire to obtain, but with the truth of participating, not with the anxiety of conquering, but with the peace of cooperating. This is what transforms you into a mirror of the divine. Source is always giving, and it gives without fear of exhaustion, because it knows that its nature is infinite. When you begin to act from that inner place, you connect to the same vibrational pattern that supports creation, and everything begins to respond to that. But there is an invisible obstacle, something that almost no one sees, and it silently sabotages this transformation every single day. It is the inner voice that says, I have to hold on to this because I might lose it. It is fear, learned scarcity, the unconscious belief that if you don't protect yourself, you will be forgotten, that if you don't control, you will be taken advantage of. This belief blocks the flow. It makes you believe you are surviving, when in reality you are disconnecting from your creative essence. And the most dangerous part is that this block doesn't come from the outside, it comes from within, disguised as caution, as prudence, as logic. It wears the mask of good intentions, but deep down it is just fear pretending to be wisdom. And this fear has to be faced, not fought, not repressed, but understood. Because when you look at it honestly, you begin to dissolve its power. And when it weakens, you begin to trust again. You begin to receive easily again. You begin to give joyfully again. And this is where a new understanding arises, something even deeper. Because if you really want to live in this flow, you have to see that life never gives you anything directly. It always delivers to you through someone. The universe doesn't come knocking on your door with lights and celestial music. It comes in disguise and almost always presents itself as the other, the person you least expected, the conversation that seemed trivial, the moment that seemed insignificant. This is where the next step on this hidden path comes in. Recognize that everything that comes to you comes through people, and these people are instruments of the source itself. It doesn't matter whether they are aware of it or not. Whether they are gentle or provocative, whether they appear as help or as conflict, the fact is that they bring something that belongs to you, a lesson, an opportunity, a reflection, a gift. When you understand this, your perception of reality changes completely because now every encounter is sacred. Every person is an emanation of the source that approaches you. Every interaction becomes a portal. And here is the detail that almost everyone ignores. You can activate the flow of manifestation only when you honor the presence of the other as an extension of the divine. Not as someone who gives you something, but as someone who represents life itself, placing something in your path. And when you receive something from someone with this awareness, not with expectation, not with need, but with reverence, you activate a powerful vibrational field, a field of true gratitude. And that is when reality begins to transform from within, because life never delivers in the forms you expect, but always in the forms you need. And it all starts to flow when you stop expecting source to come from the sky and start recognizing it in the face of the person in front of you. And it is precisely when you begin to see the other as a reflection of the source itself that something even deeper emerges. A silent truth, one that most people feel but cannot name. The love you give to others reveals how much you truly love yourself. Not the narcissistic love, but the kind that embraces, that supports, that understands. The second key, love the other as you love yourself. The second key of a true manifestor is not written in any modern book. It was whispered by the ancients, lived by sages and masters who understood that the energy of the universe flows fully only through those who have learned to love beyond appearances. Loving others as yourself is much more than a moral gesture. It is a vibrational code, an energetic alignment that completely transforms the way you move in the world, because it requires something that few are willing to face: loving your own wounds in order to look at the pain of others with compassion. And you don't learn that by reading, you learn that by living. It's easy to love someone who gives you what you want. The hard part is loving when someone unleashes in you what you're trying to hide, when they show you what you haven't healed yet, when they expose the mirrors you've been avoiding. Loving in those moments is an act of spiritual courage. But that's exactly when the magic begins. When you love someone who isn't easy to love, you break the logic of separation. Disintegrate the ego structure that insists on labeling, classifying, defending. Access the unified field, the place where everything is one. And in that field, everything responds differently, because love at that level is not an emotion, it is frequency, it is consciousness, it is a vibrational choice that shifts your reality from within. You are no longer loving as a human, you are loving as the whole, and that changes everything. When you love others as yourself without exception, you send a clear message to the universe: I am ready. Ready to participate in creation from a higher place. Ready to manifest, not just with words, but with presence, integrity, truth. But let's be clear, loving like the universe does not mean submitting to abuse or letting your energy be drained. It means recognizing that even in conflict, there is a part of the other that is sacred, that they too want to come home, that they too are trying to remember who they are. It is loving without abandoning yourself. It is including the other without excluding yourself. And this is the greatest challenge of the soul, because it requires you to dismantle the masks, let go of old stories, make peace with your shadow. But when it happens, something completely illogical begins to manifest. People reappear, doors open, time seems to respond differently, because the universe recognizes that kind of vibration. It understands that there is now a heart ready to bring more light, because it is no longer stuck in the limited me. It vibrates for the whole. It vibrates as the whole. This kind of love, real, conscious, expansive, goes beyond the conventional laws of physics because it taps into another dimension of existence, a place where there is no separation between giving and receiving, between you and the other, between matter and spirit. And it is in that field that the true miracle of manifestation begins. And when true love begins to vibrate within you in an authentic way, something silent and powerful reveals itself. Separation disappears. The illusion that there is an I here and a world out there begins to collapse, because the truth is that there never were two. It was always one field, one organism, one consciousness, observing itself from infinite angles. In that moment, you stop desiring. Not because you have given up, but because you realize that desire does not need to be shouted. You start vibrating what you want. And when you vibrate it, you are not chasing, you are attracting. This is where true manifestation begins to happen effortlessly. Not because it has become easier, but because it has become natural. What you once thought you had to control with techniques, scripts, and affirmations now begins to happen as part of your presence, like breathing, like a heartbeat, like a flow. The universe no longer has to decode conflicting signals. It receives one frequency, clear, coherent, stable, and responds with synchronicity, precision, intensity. What once seemed far away begins to come to you faster than ever. The right people appear, the right opportunities appear. The signs become so clear it would be impossible to ignore. But here comes the revelation that almost no one is ready to hear. What you thought you were manifesting was only the beginning. Most people ask for what they think they need, but when you step into the unified field, you begin to receive what your soul knew was needed all along. Not what your ego dreamed, but what your spirit has always known. And that changes the script entirely. You begin to attract not what soothes your temporary pain, but what expands your consciousness permanently. Because the universe is no longer responding to your request, it is responding to your energetic identity. And that identity does not lie. In that moment, a new way of relating to creation is born. Because you understand that you are no longer creating for yourself, you are creating through yourself. And it is in that space that a new version of you emerges. A version that does not manipulate, that does not force, that does not negotiate with the universe. This new identity does not ask, it offers. It collaborates, it serves. It is the birth of the merciful creator. This is not the kind of creator who wants to shape everything to his liking. This is the one who has become so one with the source that he no longer acts out of self-interest, but out of vibrational coherence. He does not move to control, but to reflect. He does not impose his will, but expresses the truth. This type of creator does not need to protect himself, because his vibration is his protection. His presence is his signature. His intention is his master key. This is where reality begins to bend, and not by force, but by recognition. All around begins to sense that something is different, a lightness, a clarity, a quiet power. Now you have become the field itself, no longer beggars at the gate of the universe, but the living temple where everything happens. And yet, one secret remains, that final touch that transforms enlightenment into flesh and blood, total presence. Not the kind that recites, but the kind that burns with truth in every cell. When you breathe this presence, every step becomes dance, every word becomes poetry, every choice becomes sacred. The life you dreamed of is no longer a finish line, but the ground beneath your feet, effortlessly, like a river that has found its way to the sea. The universe can only bow now. Before this adamantine authenticity, all resistance melts away. You no longer ask, you have become the answer. You do not simulate, you are. In this perfect instant, where heaven and earth marry in your breath, you are finally the cosmic law incarnate. But remember, this is not the arrival, it is the first real step. If these words have shaken your soul, leave a like as an eternal seal. Write Cosmo to join the brotherhood of those who remember. Sign up to continue the pilgrimage. May your heart remain a beacon, your step sure, your light irresistible. We will meet again where the stars are born, with infinite love. You have transformed into the field, and the field now responds to you because you are no longer an isolated entity seeking attraction, but an integral part of the whole, co-creators in tune with it. However, an essential element remains so subtle that it escapes common perception. It is the factor that definitively activates the code, that seals the transformation, making it concrete, physical, tangible. This element is presence. Not a superficial appearance of attention while the mind wanders between past and future, but an authentic, dense, vibrant, total presence. One that allows you to embody the experience you want to live. At this stage, you no longer try to attract a different life. You live it as if it were already reality, not as a simulation, but as an internal truth. Because the vibration you sustain already contains within itself everything you are looking for on the outside. This presence begins to reshape your context. The way you walk changes. Your voice modulates differently. Your choices take on a new direction. Without effort, you access dimensions that previously seemed inaccessible, not because you conquered them by force, but because you have assumed the very vibration of those realities. Faced with such a rooted presence, the universe does not resist. It opens up, it collaborates, it validates. You are no longer in the request. You have become what you invoked. You do not strive to deserve it. You embody it as your essence. This is where the cycle comes to completion: love, intention, and body perfectly aligned. The soul fully present, the mind in surrender, the body receptive. You are no longer an observer deciphering cosmic laws. You are the law itself, manifest, pulsating at the right time, in the right space, in the right rhythm. And the most extraordinary aspect? This does not represent the final goal, but rather the beginning of everything for which you have come here. Now, one last essential clarification. If this message has resonated within you, leave a like to amplify its vibration in the universe. Share your perception in the comments, even with just one word, because every echo generates resonance. Subscribe to the channel if you feel that this space can become a reference on your path. I wish you to rediscover, day after day, your authentic nature. May your heart remain open, your step sure, your presence luminous. We will meet again where the soul recognizes itself. With gratitude, see you soon.